Many NASCAR fans have heard of the term midfielder. To describe in basic words, a midfielder is most commonly a driver that tends to remain in the middle of the field during every race, but may have the occasional top 5 or top 10 finish, or a literal DNF. Some historical recognizable midfielders include Michael Waltrip, Joe Nemechek, Jay McMurray, and Paul Menard. There are many teams currently in the sport that most call a midfield team. Some examples are RFK Racing, Petty GMS Motorsports, and Richard Childress Racing. Funny thing is, all three of those teams have had a phase in their respective tenures where they were at the top of the board during certain seasons, and in the future, one of them or even all of them could return as the next gen era rolls on. There's one team in particular, however, that has a driver who still races in NASCAR today, in the Cup Series to be specific, and their career up to this point, being the time of this upload, has been extremely interesting. From looking like one of the next up-and-coming stars from the Nationwide Series and then never getting many achievements for a couple of years in the Top Series, to eventually finding some form of success and then not too long after being put into the spotlight as a wrecking ball, this driver's been through a lot in the recent years in NASCAR. Meet Ricky Stenhouse Jr., or if you want to be a somewhat rude menace, Recky Stenhouse Jr.
It's gotta be Recky Spinhouse, right? Oh, no.
Born in 1987 out of the state of Tennessee and raised in Mississippi, Stenhouse did what I would personally call the obvious route, driving go-karts at age 6, with much success that eventually led him into dirt sprint cars during the early 2000s. After winning Rookie of the Year honors and fighting close in multiple championships in USAC, the switch was made to go for asphalt racing as Stenhouse was signed by Roush Fenway Racing, now RFK Racing, in 2008. He would drive the number 99 Affleck Ford full-time, and immediately, he found success, scoring his first career win at just race 6 at Kentucky Speedway. Stenhouse would go on to score one more win at Pocono just 2 races later, and in only his first full-time season in ARCA, he was a contender for the title. Throughout the whole season, he had to fight against many other young up-and-coming talents like Justin Allgaier and Scott Speed, while also trying to defeat the legendary Frank Kimmel. It would be a championship for the ages as all 4 of those drivers had a mathematical shot at winning it all heading into the finale at Toledo in October. BlackFlagsMatter has a video on the entirety of what happened that day, but here's the gist of it. With Stenhouse and Speed being the top 2 contenders, both of them would need to claw at each other all day. Well, according to Stenhouse, the right time was to do it early in the race, getting extremely aggressive on Speed's back bumper through the first 20 laps, and by lap 26, Speed's car was in the wall.
About how aggressive Stenhouse is behind him, Speed has actually talked on the radio about letting the 99 go around, and they make contact. Speed into the wall!
Speed into the wall hard, and that happened because Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was into the back of him. Let's see if he's able to continue on. A lot of damage to the right side of this race car. He needs to make his way onto pit road.
It looked as though Speed's championship hopes were over and Stenhouse was likely going to walk away with the title unless something happened. Speed decided that if he wasn't going to get it, neither would Stenhouse. So then this happens on lap 36.
A little contact right there, a little...
Oh, problem. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. around, and oh, by the way, that was the 2.
Yeah, well, there was no question there. That was a little bit of payback. A little bit of payback.
We got some issues taking place on the racetrack.
In a nutshell, Stenhouse got what he deserved, and with both cars out, Justin Allgaier would go on to become the 2008 ARCA champion, beating Frank Kimmel by 50 points, while Stenhouse finished 5th in the standings. Despite all of that chaos, it didn't make Jack Roush think otherwise, as Stenhouse began a part-time schedule for the 2009 NASCAR Nationwide Series season, driving the number 16 and number 17 Fords and running in a total of 8 races. In total, he scored 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s, with a best finish of 5th in Milwaukee, where he led 46 of 250 laps. Moving up to full-time in the number 6 Ford for the 2010 season, Stenhouse would go on to have an absolutely disastrous start to the year, not scoring a single finish above 25th until race 6, which would be a top 10, and in 4 of the first 10 races, he wrecked out. A few decent finishes would pop up soon after, but after failing to qualify at race number 13 in Nashville, Stenhouse was taken to the car for the next weekend at Kentucky. After also being taken out for the Watkins Glen race, he did manage to find some ground and scoring good finishes, eventually finishing the season 16th in the standings with 3 top 5s, 8 top 10s, and an average finish of 19.4. The one thing he won all year was Rookie of the Year honors despite the incredibly awful inconsistency. Even that campaign didn't make Stenhouse be stopped, as he was given another chance in 2011 driving the same car. This was when the turnaround in Stenhouse's young career would begin. Although he only scored 8 wins in 67 races between 2011 and 2012, he shocked everyone by winning both of those years' championships, and good runs of consistency were finally in his hands.
I think he's got him. After almost losing his ride, being sat down just over a year ago, the promise fulfilled today at Iowa, and the first Nationwide Series driver to win a race since March of 2010. Mississippi's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is a winner.
And he's going to do it again at Iowa Speedway.
He dominated last week, Marty. Didn't get the win, but it looks as though he's got a little redemption in mind here tonight.
Oh, look out as he has a tire situation. Here comes Edwards right into it. They cross the line, and guess who wins the race? Stenhouse.
Thanks to Carl Edwards. Gave him
what a real finish. You're right, though. It looked like a tire from there.
He did a good job of just keeping. He had smoke and oil, I guarantee you. He just couldn't miss him.
Stenhouse is going to run it high. Here they come through. 3 and 4. He's got the road out. Heading for the stripe. Who is going to win it? It's going to be Brad Keselowski as he takes the win from the pole. Our champion comes across second. Carl Edwards locks up the owner's title by finishing in third. And you guys talk because I need to catch my breath.
What a finish on the season for this series. That was an incredible finish.
What an effort. What an effort, champion. Good job, baby. Yeah!
Today, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, your 2011 NASCAR Nationwide Series champion, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Jack Roush believed in him. They rode to a championship last year. Now just 3 races into this season, he's going to go to victory lane at Las Vegas. Stenhouse Jr. wins it. The defending series champ is going to extend Roush Fenway Racing's win streak in the Nationwide Series at this track to 4. Second win of the season. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. takes it. One more time around for Stenhouse. Oh, there's trouble in turn 1. Michael McDowell and Kurt Busch have tangled. What a power slide by Kurt Busch.
I'm telling you, that was a big save.
No trouble for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. for the 3rd race in a row at the Iowa Speedway. Stenhouse to the checkered flag first.
White flags out.
22's coming quick.
1 lap. You heard it. 22 is coming quick.
Stenhouse.
Stenhouse going high. What's happening to Harvick?
Going down or something.
Harvick has led 157 laps, and all of a sudden, this race is going away from him.
Keselowski's only going to have to go to the high side, but he's not going to be able to get to Stenhouse, I don't believe.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is living large. He comes out of 4. He's going to win the race.
Awesome job, guys. Awesome job. Awesome job. One badass school bus right there. Good job, boys. Got Jack's first win in Chicago. We overcome them. Great job.
See, Stenhouse has been working Joey Logano trying to make this pass, but comes up. He's got plenty of room, but
Well, he just ran over Joey.
yeah.
Stenhouse sitting in second place.
Running out.
He's running low, and it's not going to happen. He's run out of fuel. Ricky Stenhouse is going to win. Unbelievable. Out of turn 4, he's going to win the race. Ricky Stenhouse is going to win the championship.
And here's the checkers. Woo! Good job, bud.
Team's going to look like next year. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr., let's enjoy the celebration.
Along with this sudden success in the Nationwide Series, Stenhouse made his Cup Series debut for Wood Brothers Racing in the number 21 Quick Lane Chevrolet at the 2011 Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte, the same car that fellow competitor and teammate Trevor Bayne drove en route to his 2011 Daytona 500 victory. He would qualify in 9th place, and after popping the wall at one point, he came home with a near top 10, finishing 11th. Honestly, not a bad start for him. In 2012, he continued to run a few races in the Cup Series, this time for Roush in the number 6 Ford. He wouldn't be able to achieve a top 10 finish during his 4 races throughout the year, including being involved in a late wreck in the Daytona 500, but he was able to salvage a decent 12th place result at the Fall Dover race. After having won back-to-back Nationwide Series titles, both in a close fight with veteran Elliott Sadler, and also looking alright in some of his Cup Series runs, Stenhouse was called up to the big league for the beginning of the new Generation 6 era, driving the number 17 Ford car full-time, replacing Matt Kenseth, who had moved on to Joe Gibbs Racing. This was going to be a big shoe for Stenhouse to fill, as even his crew chief was a rookie, being Scott Graves, a former Roush engineer. At the Daytona 500, with girlfriend Danica Patrick on pole, he qualified 28th and wasn't really appealing during most of the race. I mean, the race itself was a snooze fest, so what do you expect? Besides collecting damage in his second half wreck. He would come home in 12th place, and for the remainder of the season, he actually had a lot of high points, including his first lap led at Las Vegas after qualifying 7th, a 3rd place qualifying result at Kansas that included 26 laps led and an 11th place finish, his first career pole at Atlanta, 2 back-to-back top 10s at Richmond and Chicagoland, and a near win at Talladega that saw him finish on the low end of the podium. With a 19th place points finish, Rookie of the Year honors, and a relatively clean campaign, Stenhouse was seeming en route to surprising everyone after what had been a very inconsistent past. Unfortunately, for the next 2 years, despite improving in top 5 and top 10 finishes, he never fully replaced what Matt Kenseth had originally done in the car, as he regressed in the points between 2014 and 2015, only coming close to a win twice and returning back to his days of inconsistency.
Stack the entire outside.
Oh, around goes Kenseth, and up into Tony Stewart, and cars are in the wall hard.
You see Carl Edwards there in the 99, Matt Kenseth in the 20. Danica hadn't hit anything, and then her right front was hit by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. late in that crash.
Enough. Mother Nature wins, and so does Carl Edwards. Wall is
17. Came across and got you. We're scoring pretty bad here, guys.
Landon Castle spins to try to miss him, and Ricky Stenhouse is wrecked.
Made contact there, and I'm sure we'll take a look at it. Stenhouse in the 16 car.
You see Stenhouse up next to the wall, sideways, comes down across, taps Stewart. Oh.
Yeah, no, Jeff was trying to avoid this 17 car and got into Tony Stewart.
Yeah, got in the right rear of Tony. Yeah.
And now we got caution. Travis Kvapil and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. together, our 10th yellow of the afternoon.
Let's see, did Danica turn him?
Wow. They just got all hooked together there.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell from that
interesting dinner.
Yeah.
Bumped so many big names like Stewart, Hamlin, Larson, Harvick, Logano, Kyle Busch, and Jeff Gordon out of the top 36, that these are the 3 drivers who failed to qualify.
Oh no, Austin Dillon, Ricky Stenhouse pile up in turn 4.
Yeah, it looks like he may have lost the tire, Larry, or something might have happened to the car.
Well, remember, a lot of damage on that 17 car from that last wreck, so that very well looks like what happened.
Yeah, I mean, the car just starts to go with him. It could be aero. You know, the car did have damage. You're up in the pack like that, or it could have been a tire. It could have been anything, but he's definitely 17 started to spin. Look, I know it's a minor little thing.
Trouble, turn 4.
Holy cow. Caution is out. Big wreck at 4, like big wreck.
Greg Biffle was sideways, and everybody ran into him.
Oh, my gosh. Big run.
As everybody rushes in.
Clear. Obviously, he came down in front of Ricky Stenhouse, but I want you to watch Clint Boyer. We're going to get a shot of his hands here through the windshield in a sec when he gets turned around. But let's listen to him.
I'll clear right with you, though. I'll clear right with you. Well, you pop there. Get it rolling when you can. I don't know what he was doing. He dive bombed you. Get it rolling. Nobody's going to hit you. Back her down the hill there if you need to. Get it rolling. You ain't going to lose another lap. Just get rolling.
A little worried about the transmission in Austin Dillon's car. They had to change it.
Big hit, guys. Big hit. The 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. A lot of damage to the front end of that car. Also involved Sam Hornish Jr. in the 9. We saw him just go out of screen. But a lot of damage to the front of the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
9 car had some sort of a problem.
Well, the 17 got into the back of him.
Well, but it looked like the 9 car was slowing down before the 17 got into the back of him. You saw people dodging him, having to turn left. I think there was some sort of a problem with the 9 car And the 17 didn't seem slowing down, ran into the back of him. That's what it looked like to me. It's hard to 100% tell, but
now we see 17 way out of shape.
Damn, a little bit of damage on this. To Ricky Stenhouse on the inside of it. They just make contact getting into turn 3. Heavy contact for both cars.
Hard into the outside wall for both drivers. See all the right side damage to the 17 Jr. They immediately took that car back into the garage. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was running 16th, not on the lead lap.
In total, Stenhouse scored 0 wins, 2 top 5s, 8 top 10s, 0 poles, and an overall average finish of 23.3, including 1 D and Q. At this point, it seemed like Stenhouse was never going to become what some had thought he would become. 2016 saw some progression, although barely, as he found a couple of good runs inside the top 15 and 20, and wrapped up the season with 4 top 5s, 6 top 10s, and an average finish of 19.6. I should also mention by this time that Roush Fenway Racing was beginning to die back down to, quote-unquote, rebuilding as a whole, with Greg Biffle going from a solid top 10 points driver to a dying mess in the middle of the field, and Trevor Bayne failing to live up to expectations as the one-win wonder. It pretty much all got started after Carl Edwards had left the team for Joe Gibbs Racing in 2015, and also Matt Kenseth going to Joe Gibbs as well back in 2014. Was anything ever going to turn back to positive for the team or Stenhouse? Well, let's just say the 2017 season had some words to say, and it all began with race 10 at Talladega.
Boogity, 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 boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
Heading into the race, Stenhouse was 15th in points with 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s. He would qualify on pole for the second time in his career, starting alongside the other junior, Dale Earnhardt Jr. After leading the first 13 laps, he would hang on for second place in stage 1 and then remain back inside the top 15 and 20 for most of the time. With 28 laps remaining, Stenhouse collected some right front end damage after a checkup in his lane caused him to send Ryan Blaney into the wall. And only a few laps after, the big one would finally strike.
Just told him it's time to be greedy. Oh, there he goes. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Oh, upside down. Side.
Well, AJ, that was a humdinger.
He successfully got past the carnage and was snug inside the top 5 with a shot to win. After 2 more cautions, which meant a green-white checker finish, he sat in second place, and with Kyle Busch plus a big pack behind him to fight against, he chose to make things look easy on his end.
If the leader makes it to the overtime line, before there's a caution, this will be the last restart of the race.
Here comes Casey Kane.
Stenhouse did a great job to block that run that was coming. Yeah, he's going to get to the inside right here. Great move by Ricky Stenhouse. Will he clear up? I think he will.
Come on, get up there.
Not yet.
We're past the overtime line. We have a race. Next flag ends it. White flag trying to end a 101 race winless streak for car owner Jack Roush is Ricky Stenhouse. Look at this, 4 wide. Everybody wants to get to the front.
I just don't see how that's going to work out. Side drafter for McMurray on Casey Kane. He's going to get to the rear bumper or go in the middle between Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch.
Now what's Stenhouse do? Can he block? Can he block all of them coming at once?
5 wide.
Work it, dude. Work it.
Last lap. Bang. That was Busch into McMurray. 3 wide. Here they come off turn 4. This is the finish these fans came and stayed for. Ricky Stenhouse, the pride of Olive Branch, Mississippi. Top to bottom. Kyle Busch to the outside, gets blocked by Stenhouse. Here they come. Stenhouse wins it. Woohoo!
What a run.
What a celebration as Ricky Stenhouse Jr. climbs out in victory lane for the first time. Jack Roush greeted him at the door. His girlfriend and fellow competitor Danica Patrick the second to greet him.
It may have taken him 4 years of full-time racing to finally get in victory lane, but Stenhouse didn't need to worry no more as he was officially a Cup Series race winner and he had a spot in the playoffs. For the next couple races, he continued his usual stint of regular finishes inside the top 15, including a top 10 in Michigan. Then came the summer Daytona race. There, he qualified 6th and had a very good car early on, sitting cleanly inside the top 10 and 15 for the most part. Although he failed to score any stage points, he was able to get by pretty much every big wreck that happened that night, and there were a couple of stints where he led laps. With multiple cars out of the race, the chance for him to be the potential underdog winner was very possible. At 8 laps remaining, however, it was almost as if the prior Talladega race had repeated itself, as Stenhouse got quite a scare from Kyle Larson, and they had to avenge off multiple late restarts to finally make it look easy for him once again.
The 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Look at the hands on AJ Allmendinger. Up in the air goes the 42 of Kyle Larson. Caution comes out. And another contact. Matt Kenseth hits. The 1 of Jamie McMurray flying down pit road.
So you see him down there on the bottom. The action starts happening on the outside. Then the 41 gets clipped, turns right, up the wall.
Sure, one car came up, the other car came down. It's hard for me to see when it first starts.
Reagan on the inside, Dillon on the outside. Green flag back in the air. Again, they could be racing to the overtime line. Side by side as they go through 1 and 2. They've got a lap and a half to go.
17 hard, here he comes.
Here comes the 17. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., a power move on the inside. He takes the lead.
David Reagan saw that line coming from the top, thought he needed to block that. Stenhouse had such a run on the bottom, he didn't get the right car block.
Stenhouse Jr., white flag in the air. One more time around. Michael McDowell in the 95 running second. A slide by the 24 of Chase Elliott. That's before they get into turn 1. The caution hasn't come out yet. They want him to be able to race back to the checkered flag. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. looking for his 2nd win in the Cup Series. He's going to get it at the biggest stage. Stenhouse Jr. wins at Daytona.
Good job, buddy. That's awesome, Ricky Bobby.
It appears though Stenhouse was now a super speedway ace, and that year he was sitting in a category of wins with the likes of drivers such as Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, and Brad Keselowski. And his ability to drive aggressive yet somehow clean on the big tracks was just unthinkable. Unfortunately, the remainder of the season didn't see a whole lot more, as he only scored 2 more top 10s and was eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. To be fair, his consistency was able to put him over drivers like Kurt Busch, Casey Kane, and Joey Logano, as he scored a career best points finish of 13th, which also counts if you use the non-playoff standards, but only barely. Hoping to start off the new 2018 season with some momentum from his prior underdog campaign, the inconsistency returned as Stenhouse only had 1 top 15 within the first 7 races. There would be some redemption with 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, and 6 finishes inside the top 15 within the next 10 races. He wouldn't be able to defend his spring Talladega race crown, so he instead looked to defend the crown at the summer Daytona race. At this point, many fans know where I'm about to go with this, and there are many videos out there whether it's discussing what happened or it's a hilarious meme show, so here are the basics of what happened that night.
The Coke Zero Sugar 400 is underway.
People trying to hit each other and shove each other to try to get that lead.
You say that's the safest place to be, but about right here is where Eric Almirola was out front with just less than half a lap in the Daytona 500, and he got turned around.
That's the last lap.
Stenhouse qualified 6th and led 31 laps en route to scoring the victory in Stage 1. After a spin by Paul Menard in the middle of the field, it only took 2 laps for the Ricky Stenhouse nickname to be officially implemented, at least by much of the fan base, as in a span of just 5 green flag laps, the number 17 car turned into a low-split iRacing ARCA car. Now, if you understand that joke, good for you.
Waiting for whichever line. Huge push. And around goes a 2! Too big of a push! He caught the 41!
The big one.
Logano's caught up in it.
Oh my goodness.
Denny Hamlin. Austin Dillon has damage. Daniel Suarez trying to avoid. Ty Dillon sliding in.
Ricky was pushing him and also turning down the racetrack, and that was enough to see 24 blocking here. So Brad's probably throttling down a little bit.
Hits him in the right rear, and that's what sends him. We talked about that earlier. That's where you want to bump draft somebody. You want to bump them in the right.
Draft him right here in 3 and 4. Oh my goodness!
Sideways the 18, hard into the wall. Around goes the 24 as well. William Byron sliding all the way to the inside wall. Jamie McMurray caught up as well. Kyle Larson avoiding the 18. He went way down on the apron.
His line exactly. He's also trying to side draft. So Ricky's trying to side draft 18. 18's coming down to side draft 24. Just a couple bad decisions there. Trying to, you got to be aggressive on the side draft.
Stenhouse went on to controversially score the second stage victory, and after leading a couple more laps throughout the third stage, he got his karma, as Kyle Larson, ironically enough of all people, blew a tire right in front of him, and he absolutely failed to avoid him. The damage from that led to him going for a spin later on, and after getting unintentionally involved in a late wreck, he wound up finishing the number 17 car in 17th, leaving the track with security around him. The rest of the year was relatively smooth besides the results, as he only scored 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, and continued to remain inconsistent as he held on for 18th in the standings. Stenhouse looked to find redemption in 2019, and he actually looked decent early on, as he scored 1 top 10 and 4 top 15s within the first 5 races. Unfortunately, it was a repeat of his campaigns in 2014 and 2015, as he only scored 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s the rest of the way, finishing 23rd in points. During that year's summer, he confirmed that he had signed an extension with Roush Family Racing. However, a month later, Roush announced Stenhouse would be let go in exchange for youngster Chris Buescher, who by the way has made Stenhouse look like an embarrassment in the car. Some pretty nice violence there from Roush, eh? Without a ride, JTG Dougherty Racing came calling, and Stenhouse would be put in the number 47 Chevrolet for the 2020 season, teaming up with youngster Ryan Preece. Immediately, he got off to a great start, at least qualifying-wise, as he shockingly scored the Daytona 500 pole over Alex Bowman. He would only finish 20th in the race after collecting damage from an incident near pit road. The whole campaign did see him score 3 top 5s and 5 top 10s, including a close call in that year's spring Talladega race, which saw him come super close to winning but just falling short to Ryan Blaney. But he wound up with his worst average finish since 2015 at 22.6, and he got himself involved in an absurd number of incidents throughout the season. The final year of the Gen 6 car in 2021 actually saw Stenhouse improve a lot in consistency, although only scoring 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s all year. Out of 36 races, he managed to finish inside the top 15 13 times and the top 20 24 times, which to be fair is pretty solid for JTG equipment, and he finished 22nd in the standings. With the next gen era now underway, as of this upload, Stenhouse has actually shown decent speed through the first 4 races of the season. He had a shot winning the Daytona 500 until he was wrecked by Brad Keselowski in a late restart, and he scored a solid 10th place finish at Auto Club in a car that had paced for a top 5 finish. He currently sits 23rd in points with 14 stage points, and yeah, that might not sound too great so far, but honestly, based on the parity in races so far, Stenhouse could surprise some people within the next couple of races. It's a little bit too early to say as of right now, but honestly, anything is possible with a new car. At this point, what is there to really say about Stenhouse? Well, obviously he's not a superstar, go figure, but he's had many learning lessons throughout his career. At 34 years old, I wouldn't say he's a bad driver, as he's never had a shot in great equipment for a long time. You could argue about him getting into Roush back during the early parts of the Gen 6 era, but the team was already beginning to enter a collapse by that point. By the title, I call him NASCAR's consistent midfielder, because at this point, that's what he truly is. He may have his moments of being a potential wrecking ball, but to be fair, he's gotten better at keeping the car clean and actually going forward without having any issues. He's a top candidate for bringing the car home with a solid top 15 or 20 finish, with the occasional top 5 or 10, especially on the super speedways. Perhaps another win at Daytona or Talladega will happen after this video, who knows. Hell, based on this upload time, Atlanta is just hours away, and now it's a super speedway instead of its usual intermediate that eats up tires. So I mean, anything's possible. I mean, come on, between him and Danica Patrick, look at who in the long-gone relationship still remains here. Ironic, eh? Oh wait, Danica's now in the broadcast booth. Oh shit. Alright, poor example, but hey, he's still here. I personally wish him the best of luck for the remainder of the season. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this one. Got any thoughts? Leave them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, give this a thumbs up, and even check out my previous videos like the one on the screen right now. My name's Reegser, or Reegs for short, and thanks for watching. Have a good one.